Behind every meal is a story waiting to be told. Let's take a closer look at how food gets from the soil to our plates.
The biggest question to ask yourself about food is, where did this come from? And that begins the telling of the story.
What was the seed that created the food that you're eating? What were the environmental conditions involved with growing that food for you? Who picked and harvested that food? It's about understanding food from seed to table.
This story follows two seeds, corn and tomato, each traveling a very different path to make a meal. It's a tale of two forms of agriculture and how they relate to you. Let's begin with these kernels of corn, ready for planting on an industrial farm in the Midwestern United States. You might imagine sweet corn on the cob, but this is commodity corn. It's grown for animal feed and food additives, and it's the largest crop in America. In just a few months, green stalks cover the landscape. When farmers plant a single species over a large area, it's called a monocrop.
It's a very efficient way to grow things. But from a biological perspective, it's disastrous. When you grow a monocrop, you also tend to grow the monocrop's pests. The only way you can keep a monocrop going is with lots of pesticides and also lots of chemical fertilizers, because that crop exhausts the soil of whatever nutrients the crop needs to grow. And they end up running off and they go into the rivers and they enter the water systems. They travel down the Mississippi and they end up in the Gulf of Mexico, where they have created what's called a dead zone. This is an area where there is no oxygen and nothing can live. So, you know, the Gulf of Mexico has become sort of corn's toilet bowl, in effect.
Now it's harvest time. So where does all this corn go?
The giant golden river of corn, the bulk of it goes to feedlots and is used to feed animals. The reason for that is the corn is cheap and it has a lot of energy in it. So when you're eating a burger, when you're drinking milk, when you're eating chicken or having a hot dog, that mostly comes from corn-fed livestock.
The thing is, cattle like to graze on grass. A diet of corn can make them sick, so these animals are given antibiotics, as well as hormones to speed their growth. Raising livestock this way is hard on the animals and on the land.
The other river of corn, besides the stuff for animals, is going to refineries. Some of it's crushed and turned into tortillas and corn chips and things like that. The rest, it's broken down into the raw materials for a great many food additives, all that stuff you see on the side of a package. All those streams of corn coming off America's Corn Belt converge again in a fast food meal. A burger, fries, and a soda, they seem like different foods, but in one level, they're really the exact same food. You're eating meat that came from a cow that was raised eating corn. French fries, you might think, are potatoes, and they are, but 50% of their calories come from the oil that they're fried in, and that oil is either corn oil or soybean oil. In the case of the soda, it's all corn. There's no corn on the label, but high fructose corn syrup is the sweetener and the main ingredient after water.
Fast food is having a tremendous effect on our youth. As a pediatrician, I see many kids nowadays that I'm diagnosing with problems like diabetes, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I see 9-year-olds who have high cholesterol. It's crazy. The problems that they're going to have further on down the line are going to be tremendous. The good news is that there is room to turn the tide around.
Once you start learning about food from seed to table, you realize so many of the choices that are good for your own health, that are good for your body, are choices that are also good for the environment, that are good for your community, that are good for your local economy.
Now let's follow another path to make a meal, starting with the seeds of an heirloom tomato.
Everybody asks me what an heirloom tomato is. They are seeds that have been saved and selected for really good flavor. They're delicate varieties that people have nurtured in their gardens from generation to generation and passed the seed down.
This tomato comes from an organic farm in Northern California. The organic label means that the food was grown without pesticides or chemical fertilizers. That's healthy for the land, the workers, and you.
Here at the farm, we grow many different crops. We have fruit trees, we do herbs, we grow vegetables, we grow strawberries, and we have animals, because animals are part of the farm.
The animals can eat the waste from the crops, and the plants can eat, in effect, the fertility produced by the animals, the manure. And when you have that, you don't have to bring in synthetic fertilizers. You know, the farm provides for itself. Nature knows how to do this without bags of chemicals.
The tomatoes are ripe and it's time for harvest. A good reminder of the many people who plant, raise, pick, clean, and pack our food. Our farmer sells his tomatoes to customers just a few hours away. A short drive preserves flavor, nutrients, and fossil fuel.
I go every week to the farmer's market. I love people getting excited about our produce.
The thing that makes a farmer's market such a special place is that you're actually creating community around food. The consumers are actually getting to meet the person who provides them with their food.
Today, chef and author Bryant Terry is leading a group of young people to the market.
Hi, Nigel. Hi there. How you doing?
I just love going to the farmer's market and seeing these oddly colored and shaped tomatoes, yellow, green, orange, striped, polka dot.
Don't be afraid of ones that look a little funny too.
After stocking up, it's time to share a delicious meal. Each one of us plays an active role in the larger food chain. We're an essential part of the story.
When we're sitting down and eating food at the table, we are at the last part of a long chain of events that have helped bring this food to our plates. Maybe spending 30 cents more for a pound of heirloom tomatoes is worth it so that we actually can pay the workers a living wage, so that we can actually ensure that the environment isn't being sprayed with toxic pesticides, so we can actually ensure that our children can be healthy in future generations by eating this food that is life-giving.
What I like about the farmer's market is how the people are usually friendly.
I took a bite into it and it was like an apple. It was so good. I was like, "Are you sure this is a tomato?"
It's better for you, it's better for the environment, it's better for the workers growing it.
I care about my community deeply and I don't want anyone to be unhealthy.
A lot of the times in nutritional labels there'll be chemicals that you don't really understand.
Partially hydrogenated things and weird riboflavins that no one really knows what they are.
Fast food, at first it's really good, and then later it's really gross.
If you were to eat fresh food, organic food every day for a week, I guarantee that you're gonna feel completely different.